Hey there, so as I promised, I'm going to show you in this video today how you can edit your videos. I use Lightroom. I'm going to explain Lightroom to people. This will help you. Also, you can download Lightroom app for your cell phone. This will help you understand Lightroom for your cell phone. Maybe you want to pay for it for your cell phone or for your computer. I don't know, but this is understanding Lightroom for your computer. So the first thing you are going to want to do is you're going to want to open up Lightroom on your computer. So that is what I have done over here. And what I recommend doing when you are opening up Lightroom is when you do it, why is it so dark right now? Okay, I'm not understanding this. When you do it, you want to make sure that you have it open. It's going to be in the library module. There's not going to be, for me, I have a ton of photographs up over here. But for you, there may not be any photographs at all. Okay, let's make this brighter. Let's go. Why is this so dark? There we go. So for me, okay. Energy saver. I don't want auto brightness on. So for me specifically, I don't have, you're probably not going to have any of the pictures in here. So if I were you, I would recommend putting it, if you're using the MacBook Pro, halfway maybe. If you're using one of the higher end computers, I would recommend putting it darker so that's not too bright. You'll get used to it for sure, don't worry, because I know I got used to it. So you don't want to put it too dark. You don't want to put it, you don't want to put it too bright. You want to make it so that you can actually still see the screen, but you want to make it that it's not going to be too oversaturated. So what that'll mean is when you're editing a photo, you want to see it how, let's say you're going to print the photo out, you want to see it how the person's going to see it. So if the person's going to see it as maybe the contrast will be too low. Maybe you're going to see the contrast look way too bright for you. But when you put it lower, like maybe 3-4 bars of brightness on your computer, it's good enough for it. It'll show it as a decent contrast. And then maybe if you put it back too high, you lower the brightness of the photo. And then all of a sudden when you print it, it looks like crap. So you want to put it darker so that when it shows up, it doesn't show up as a crazy low, too dark, too high brightness level. Now, remember this though, for the computer you're using, Lightroom can work on any computer. I recommend 8 gigabytes of RAM. I was using it on a $350 computer before I got this Mac, and it worked. So, as you can see here, it is glitching, not really glitching, but as you can see, I do have a ton of photos. As you can see some of them are yellow. Why did I do that? Some of these, I haven't rated any photos, but why are they yellow? Because those are photos that I'm going to use in the long run over here. So those are the photos that I will use 100%. So I like labeling, for some reason, yellow is just my 100% used photo, like them color. Now, I have one photo rated number 4 because I had 2 different, as you can see, I have 2 different helicopter photos. Maybe the number 4 one wasn't the one to actually use as much as the other one, but I use both no matter what. Some of these photos above aren't rated because sometimes I just go in and I edit the photo and I just have one shot. A lot of times you import, let's say, maybe hundreds of photos, but in the end you only choose to take 10 of those. I took 192 different photos for my helicopter ride. I only edited approximately 10 of those photos. That's crazy. Now, that's just ridiculously crazy. I was expecting myself to be able to, have more photos than that, but it's crazy. Like, you can take a ton of photos, but you only can end up with 10. Which is why it's good to take tons of photos and just have them out. So I have over here stuff, as you can see. As you can see over here, I have copyright information on the side. So the first thing I'm going to teach you to do is understanding the Lightroom module, the library module itself. They call them modules because that's just different spots of it. So when you do import a photo, or when you do import photographs, as you can see is I'm going to go from 199 all the way down to the beginning of my helicopter ride. When I'll click shift, click, I have 119 photos selected from helicopter ride. Now, on the side, you can see it says catalog, all photographs, quick collection, previous import. You have your folders. Now, I'm just going to close that spot because I don't need those, because I don't need to know, well, I don't need to know specifically where each folder is, each photo comes from which folder, because that doesn't help me in this case. That's only helping me for importing stuff. Now, I have over here on the side collections. Now, there's an add button on the right side where it says collection. You can create collection, smart collection, or create collection set. Now, creating collection is when you click it, you get a collection which is this. It's just a list, it's just a collection of photos in a certain category. Now, when you're going to all photographs, when you go in, as you can see, I have this 38 to 52 on mine of my moon and tree. As you can see, I have 15 of those. There are 15 selected. Those 15 photographs, I can click and drag them into moon and tree if I want to. Or I can click and create a smart collection, which is, or create a collection set. What this collection set will do is it'll automatically create a certain collection set, which, as you can see, all my helicopter photos. So I can create what it'll do is you'll be able to create a sub collection inside of that collection set, where you can categorize. Let's say you're going to go on a helicopter ride during the day, helicopter ride at night. I'm just using that as an example because that's what is right here. So you can automatically make a collection set, and inside of that you can have one collection as nighttime, and then one collection as daytime inside of there, so you can categorize. But if you want to just edit all of those photos, go through, find the ones you like from the nighttime and daytime, then you can just go through the full thing. Otherwise, you go and you can just do helicopter ride itself. Now, all photographs just brings back up your full photographs, and then you have your skies. You can see the stars, and I have one for sunrise. Now, another thing I like to do is every single photo I import, some of them don't have copyright info, but I like to be able to go and copyright in presets. I have a copyright preset, copyright my stuff, so that it shows up as copyrighted OC Asher Schwartz, and copyrighted creator is Asher Schwartz. Now, I don't like to add anything other than that, because if I select, let's say I select Control A. Now, I'll select copyright. Copyright status, it shows mixed, caption mixed. I don't like to edit the title of the photos because I may be selecting more than one photo. But I just have on there as my copyright is me, my creator is me. So what you want to do is you're going to want to make sure you do OC, your name, and then creator as your name, because why not? Now, once you have done this and you created a collection, I will link some photos down below. What these photos will be. Okay, that just got way too bright, way too fast. What these photos will be is some photos that'll help you out to edit. You can follow along with me. So these are from my photography class. So I originally edited these photos in black and white because that's what I was taught. But so I'm going to show you black and white too, because, well, why not? It helps out with editing, helps you understand contrast and all this other stuff. So I am seeing here, I find this photo here isn't a good one. I'm not finding the photos. I can't find them on this hard drive here. Okay, now that I have found 3 images, what we're gonna do is, they will be linked down below. Remember, you can download these images. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna click File, and you're gonna click Import Photos and Videos. Now, what you're gonna wanna do is, you're gonna wanna find your, wherever they're downloaded to, select that source, and make sure, there we go, make sure when you are importing these photos that those are the only ones selected. So there should be 3 photos selected. Now, they will be in .nef because that is what my camera that you're seeing me on right now edits in, or records in. So they'll come up in a previous import. So what we can do is, I'm going to make this a collection under let's say, under YouTube edit. Now, what that just did was it just took in the one photo that was selected. So now what you want to do is drag your other photos and this photo right here. You want to drag all photos into this YouTube edit. Now, what you can do is you can set a rating, set a color label, whatever one you want. Let's say you like this one a lot, you like red as your color label. Let's say this one has a rating of 5, so you do that. Let's say this one is red, but you don't know, so you set it to a label of 3. Same thing with this one, maybe you don't know. You can also press the space bar. It'll pop up with a whole image on there of what the photo may look like, and then you can press escape to get rid of it. Now, you can copyright your image, so I just have an automatic copyright here. I can do this. Now, this changes what is called the metadata, which means that every time you view it, you click the Get Info button on your computer, it'll automatically show up on your photo, no matter where you're doing it, no matter where it's coming from. So click on your first image. The first image I want you to click on is the picture of the bird. Click on Develop. Now, what'll happen is this image will pop up. I have auto brightness off. So here, I'm gonna click the info button. I'm gonna get rid of that information there. Now, again, I have a ton of my own presets. I will close presets. We're not gonna work with that. So, okay, on the left side, for me, it's just getting a little bit too dark because of the way this computer is working for some reason. So, on the left side of the bar, you have your preset, snapshot, history, and collections. So you can close your collections if you're not going to work with them right away. Now, history is a good thing to have. It shows you every little edit you do. So if you edit and change it to black and white, you can undo that edit. If you change it to light, and if you change it to different and then you put it back, it'll show you turned it on and then you turned it off. So you'll automatically be able to show everything that you've done to it, and then you can go back and to a certain spot that you want to go back to. So on the left side, you want to make sure you click the control click opens up every single one of those, or command click alt command option, which is alt click. Alt click opens up in, as you can see over here, I have with it, what normally it goes on like this, where you can have multiple open at a time. If you do option click, it'll automatically close whatever one was just open. So click option click. The first thing we're going to work on is lens correction in this case. So what that will do is click remove chromatic aberrations and enable profile corrections. As you can see on the history side of things, it showed up as you removed chromatic aberrations and you enabled the lens profile. Now, when you click on profile, you'll see it shows the lens that I use. Leave everything alone. You can just close this part of it. Now, what you want to do is make sure the histogram is open and make sure that you have selected on the 2 triangles on the corners of the screen, on that screen for the histogram. Because what'll happen is if it becomes too light, there will be a white or a red around that area to show you that it's too bright. And then if it's too dark, there will be a black around the area showing you it's too dark. So that's something you want. And then from there, there's not much. So you have basic, you have tone curve, you have a ton of stuff. What I want you to do is just click the BNW. That'll just make it black and white. That's the first thing to do. Now, once you do make it black and white, the lens correction stays. As you can see, every edit you've done to this stays. So if you just close the program out, let's say you just exit out, it closes, you'll still have that, you'll still have the edits there. It'll still be there. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna be able to change the temperature to a point, as you can see. Now, it automatically just do as shot. The tint doesn't change that much in black and white. We're not working with colors right now. So now, as you can see, the exposure, I put it all the way up. It shows that red. That means that it's way too bright. As you can see, that is way too bright. Contrast, as you can see, there's blue. That is way too dark. So for this image, I like to tone it up to maybe 0.85 for the exposure, which is how bright the image actually gets. Contrast wise, different parts of the image get bright at this point. For what it is, I like boosting it up to like 35. Highlights can go down because that just darkens the image a little bit. Shadows is low. The whites, if you turn them up too much, that's bad. I'm gonna turn them down a little bit just so it doesn't get too bright, because the highlights still keep that where it is. The blacks itself, that enhances this tail area of the image. And contrast can still, once you've done all that, if you see it looks a little bit too washed out, contrast definitely can go up a little bit here. And then clarity itself, that just enhances the way the image looks, how sharp the image looks. So you can see over here, clarity you can turn to 100% in this image. It works out well. Everything can be clear, including the blackness of the tail, has all of the detail in it still. Now for tone curve, let's say your image did have that darkness to it. Just turn down, all you need to do is take the ball on the top right of the tone curve, just move it down a little bit. Take the bottom ball and move it up a little bit. And in the middle, if you want to, this will adjust more of your brightness. As you can see, I just put more in the middle. It's 52.2 to 42.4. You can fool around with this yourself. Show how it may look. As you can see, the contrast seems like it's a little bit too high in this case. If I'm going to fool around with that side of things, that just makes it look way too washed out. I'm going to leave everything the way it is now, because this photo didn't need much work when I edited it in the beginning. Now this again, so there is no color, so you don't need to fool around with any of this HSL color B&W stuff. So that's that. But again, sharpening, amount, radius, noise reduction. Now there is an effect. There is a post crop vignetting, as you can see. This vignetting is basically that ring around the photo that you get. You can see, you can select the midpoint. You can select how round the vignetting is. You can select the feathers, so if it looks like it's fading into it. Now again, this photo doesn't need vignetting. You can select highlight wise. That doesn't change much. And you can select grain. If there is grain in the photo, you can select to be able to make it look like part of the image there. Now I'm going to take out all post-crop vignetting here. I'll just go back to that, because again, there is no grain. This was taken in pure daylight. You don't need vignetting in this photo. This photo does not need it. There are photos I've seen with vignetting in it. You definitely don't need it in this case here. So now on top there is a crop tool. Now aspect ratio as shot, so again, it's just going to keep it the way you shot it. I'm gonna just press escape here to get rid of it. Now you can do custom or original. So now when you do it like this, you can now just edit to the size you want, or you can do custom, where now you can do like this. You can do like this. Now I'm not going to do any custom cropping. You can also, let's say the image was out of focus, so let's say it wasn't straight. You can then edit out how crooked the image is. Then there is the cloning tool, which you can draw over. And I personally don't use this. I don't even think it should actually be a thing. I'm gonna go back to point curve custom here. Then there is the red eye reduction. There is no red eye in this photo. Then there is the mask, so you can go like this. Let's say the top of the image was way too overexposed. So you can then tune down the overexposure. Let's say you want to do it. Now this one doesn't need any of that, but let's say it needed to do a certain area of the image. Or I like show selected mask overlay on the bottom where it shows all of your photo stuff. Because with this, if you're coloring on a certain spot of the image, it'll allow you to see. So that you never use that one. So see over here, let's say I just want to color on, you can zoom out a little bit. But let's say I just wanted to color on, zooming in and out on using the scroll wheel just makes this thing larger or smaller, this little tool. But let's say the whole area, I'm not going to do it perfectly well, but let's say the whole area of the of this, yeah, as you can see, I really didn't do it well. So let's say this whole area of this birdie was overexposed, or underexposed for that matter. Now I'm going to unselect show mask overlay, and then what you can do is it'll show red there just to show for some of it. But as you can see, it's nothing I want on my image. But as you can see, I can tone down or open certain spots of the image. Now I'm just going to do Command Z. I'm just going to do go back to point curve custom. But you can literally, if I really wanted to, I can click like right over here or whatever. I can tone down the exposure of that little spot there. So if I really wanted to, I could. I don't want to. I don't think it needs it. That's just me. All comes from my eyes. So there's that little spot there. Doesn't look like it needs it. So that's that. Now there are now you can do multiple different types of images here. There's this one, and then there is this one here. So for this one here, I didn't really fool around with this one that much myself. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back to remove chromatic aberration here. And then we're going to do lens corrections. Now this photo was taken at night, but it shows up really well over here. And what you can do is you can do black and white. Again, it shows up as black and white, so we can leave everything alone. Now again, automatically, whenever you open up this program now, these two triangles for the whites, the shadows, and whites are all going to be lit up. So if I go to exposure over here, as you can see, it'll still show it. Now, I want to keep it converted to black and white here. So as you can see, there are blue spots to the image. So what you want to do is you want to come straight to tone curve. Now what you're gonna just bring up tone curve a little bit, maybe to maybe to like 3.5 or so, 2.4 maybe. Now it's gone. Now it just looks like another part of the image. Now I'm gonna bring down the right side of it too a little bit, just so I don't get any clippings when I try to make it too bright. And then over here again, I don't think you need to fool around with the brightness or the tint of the image. I think that's not going to be fooled with too much in terms of black and white, the temperature of the image. But as for exposure, you want to make that brighter. And so I would say anything that looks good on your end. You don't want it too bright, you don't want it too dark. I also like adding a little, I also sometimes like adding contrast to the image, because as you can see over here, now it just looks too bland in certain parts of the image. I don't like that. So I'm going to take off the contrast here. As you can see, I'm not going to lower it. Raising the contrast ruins this image. Some images you don't need contrast, maybe like 19 plus 19 contrast. Exposure can be a little bit lower, so maybe 1 plus 1 exposure. Highlights, definitely if you go down a little bit, you'll be able to, not as high, but you'll be able to make the image brighter for certain areas. And then shadows too, you want to make those shadows brighter here. So I'm doing plus 61 on the shadows, minus 61 on the highlights. The whites, there are no whites, so for whatever whites there are, you can just enhance it to like 30 maybe. Whoops. And that'll just make some parts of the image brighter. As you can see over here, way too bright. I'm going to just take it down to 0 again. You don't need to fool around with the whites here. The blacks, on the other hand, you can enhance that to plus 32. And then when you enhance clarity all the way, in this case, it brings out every single one of the leaves, which I like. It brings out the shadows that was created with those leaves. So you can see, depending on the amount of clarity you get. I like clarity, that's just me. Now, there isn't much more to edit in this image yourself. There isn't much more to edit. Again, that's just one image. Now, as you can see here again, look at all of this. If I really wanted to, I can go all the way back to the beginning of the image. Look where we came from. Let's say I want the convert to black and white. Look where we came from, all the way up to here. That is a huge difference in the photo. Now, for the last image, I am focusing directly on the branch that's coming out here. Everything else is blurred out in the background. So the first thing I do is remove chromatic aberration and removes profile corrections. The first thing I ever do when I'm editing photos is do those two things. It removes all the little badness to the image that the lens creates. Then these are just black and white images. You tone them to black and white. Tone curve, again, I'm going to turn that to like 97. Well, however much up you do, don't do so crazy that it's just going to be like, whoa. Definitely not so crazy. Like up to 5, I would say, with both of those things. Then the basic, again, temperature does not need to be touched. If anything, exposure should be touched. Clarity a little bit, because it'll bring out, I personally think if I go and I leave it alone, it looks a little bit, in my opinion, flat. You can bring out a little bit of the image here by doing the clarity like the way it is. You don't need to do it so high. I'm going to do it about 38 here, which happens to be a little bit too high, so I would say like 26. Highlights, you don't need to bring that up. I would bring that personally down. I wouldn't say minus 100. But if I'm doing a little bit here, I want some clarity. So minus 32 brings out a little bit of this leaf over here's clarity. Then the shadows, I wouldn't enhance it all the way, but like plus 36 brings out more of the down over here, even though that's not where you're focusing at. If you do Command Z, there we go. As you can see, let's focus right over here and see what the shadows at plus 41 does to it. It just makes it a little brighter. This over here looks a little more clear. Whites, on the other hand, can be brought up to about 40. And blacks, I would say, can be toned down a little bit. Again, you don't see any of that blue clipping. You almost see it over here, because some stuff like right over here is way too dark. But for what it's worth, you're not focusing all the way down there, and you're looking around here for it. Clarity also, you don't need no clarity on this image. that one can stay alone. Now again, if you really wanted to, you can color all over this little part of the image over here. This shows selected mask all the way down there. I'm going to do more of it. You can color on that part of it. Now, bring up the shadow here. Now, it looks a lot better down there. It takes some work. So as you can see, if we close it out, it looks natural in my opinion. Brought up. Since it's a shadowy area, you don't see as much of it. Brings it up. But now, how do you export these images? So File, Export. You're going to export to your hard drive. If you want to upload this online, you're going to just export it. Choose, I'm going to leave all that the same. Keep the file format the same. Quality is 100%. Keep it to ProPhoto RGB, and format is JPEG. Now, don't resize it. Make sure these images here are 360 pixels per inch. But for what it's worth, you're gonna have to find out for your cell phone what the pixel per inch count is, and then include all metadata. Don't remove anything. And watermark is edit watermarks. And you're gonna just add your copyright info to this, so it'll show up on the bottom right corner here. You're gonna find whatever text you like. I don't know. There's a lot of text you can use. Comic Sans, whatever. Save it. Comic Sans preset, and I saved it as that. Now that watermark, after exporting, do nothing. All it does is it can open up any application you want. So click export. It'll export to your desktop here, and it'll show a slider. It'll take its time to export that one file that you've selected. Now, once it has been exported, you can minimize it. I'm gonna click the Get Info button on this. And as you can see here, it shows exactly the info. If I open it up, as you can see, my copyright info is on the corner, and there is the image. Now, if I open it up in full screen here, there's what it should look like. I can close this out. I can open up Lightroom again. There we go. And we can export other images now. So the original images will be down below in the description for you guys. I want you to tag me on Twitter or Instagram. I have my links to my social medias down below. I want you to tag me with your final edit image of whatever you took. Now, if you did like this video, I hope to see you give it to this thumbs up here, because, well, why not? And just as always, subscribe if you are new here, hit the bell icon, comment down below what you think of this, and if you have any issues, comment down below too, give this a thumbs up, and just as always, enjoy the rest of your day.